Now Hear This is a music review podcast and is not directly affiliated with any artists or album projects discussed on the show. Think of us like your record collection come to life. Well, except for that demo tape you and I made in high school. Let's never speak of that again.
You got a record of your favorite songs. You got an hour and it won't take long. You got a pair of brand new friends. You got a ticket, gonna stick to the end. I said, now hear this. Now hear this. Now hear this show right now.
I found a lot of solace in being able to write a song. We definitely felt as a group that we were deeply unfashionable, that we were misfits.
Well, look at the kid from school. He's teaching mamas and papas how to be a little cool. He's changing fashion the way he dress. Attracted to old Bella hoodies, where the money for the kid with the will to funky dances in secret. He's a part-time punk. Now she's getting off the plane.
Well, welcome back to Now Hear This. I accidentally did not record my track, and we had an amazing intro.
Ryan did jumping jacks.
I did jumping jacks. Those are lost.
You really, you missed out on some stuff.
They were lost forever. And we do not know Elvis Costello lyrics. I should know. I always act like a big shot, like I know all of his.
You're still a big shot to me, Ryan.
Well, you had to be a big shot, didn't ya?
No, what's that lyric?
You had to be a big shot, didn't you? You had to prove it to the crowd. Prove it to the crowd.
You had to have the last shot last night.
You're so fun to be around.
Is that Turnstiles? What album is that? I'm sorry, I've played it into Jiminy Glick there. What album is that on? Do you think?
Oh shit, Paul, where'd you go? I believe that's on Glass Houses, Jimmy.
Glass Houses. That's very interesting. I love Glass Houses. It's not even anything anymore.
There's many stones.
Now, what would you say is your favorite album? No, that's not good.
That's amazing.
No, Ryan.
We have to change this whole show.
To our Jiminy Glick tribute podcast.
Now hear this with Jiminy Glick.
The Jiminy Trick. Which one is really Jiminy podcast?
That's really Martin Short, right? That's how he...
No.
Okay. Where has he been?
Martin?
Jiminy Glick.
Oh, yeah.
Glick.
Oh, my God. Martin Short told a story on Conan, yes, the other night.
Yeah.
Where George Harrison was at a party with him and played him Traveling Wilburys Volume 3, but was being guy who wrote music and recorded it and wanted to play it for people who weren't really paying attention at a party.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
That's amazing.
George Harrison being that guy.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
I can't imagine.
Like him going, yeah, and this one's called Cool Dry Place, and here's how we wrote it. And like everyone's wandering off.
Yeah.
Or staring at their cocktail.
Yeah, well, that's good. I was looking at my watch.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So you wrote...
something.
It's the song Something.
Something, right? You wrote something.
You wrote some kind of song about the sun and the moon. I like Here Comes the Moon.
I love Here Comes the Moon.
Oh, you love Here Comes the Moon.
I even did a cartoon one time that made it into print in an Archie comic about the moon being the little brother to the sun.
Yeah.
And the sun giving the moon a noogie. Because that's a line from that
song. A little George Harrison nod there.
Yeah.
For those keeping score. And if you are keeping score, please send me a picture of your scorecard, because I would love to see what's on that.
Whose line is it anyway, rules? The points don't matter.
Yeah.
But they do maybe. Today, Ryan.
Oh, no.
We are discussing an album that has absolutely nothing to do with anything about what we just talked about. Apropos of nothing.
Well, I'm going to try to loop it into something now, but please continue.
We are talking about Belle and Sebastian's album, The Life Pursuit.
The Life Pursuit,
The seventh studio album by Belle and Sebastian that I gave you to listen to because I love this album, and it's my last album contribution of the season, and I'm so happy it was this one because I love it. I love it.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for this record, and second and foremost...
You're welcome. Good night, everybody.
And that was the show.
Yeah.
Third and foremost, I listened to this record one time in college, and that was a mistake because I went on a wild journey where I kept hearing songs in order on the record up until a point, we'll get to that point. I was like, oh my good gravy, God, ghost, gosh.
You got it, yeah. Keep going.
Groundhog. Gerund.
Yeah.
Groovy guy. This is amazing. This is an amazing album.
It's hit after hit.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit
There's
after hit.
A couple of little weak points, but my experience with Belle and Sebastian, and we'll get into it as we go, started with, I may as well just mention at the top, the way I got introduced to Belle and Sebastian was from the song Sukie in the Graveyard. Mm-hmm. A girlfriend of mine in 2007 put it on a mix CD for me, and it was one of those summer love, puppy love type of summers, and Sukie in the Graveyard was on there, Mika stuff was on there, MIA was on there, and it was like you have those soundtracks of your summer. And so Sukie in the Graveyard is sort of where I began and ended with Belle and Sebastian for a few years, actually. I didn't really branch out beyond that. I started looking into them more, and I'm like, boy, these are some sad songs.
Yeah.
Every other Belle and Sebastian album is super sad.
Super duper sad.
And really quiet. And that's why when I did wind up listening to this full album, The Life Pursuit, I was like, why is every song a sunshine pop tune? Mm-hmm. It's an anomaly in their career. Like, before and after this, you don't really get an album that is just bursting with sunshine.
No, absolutely not. There's some on Dear Catastrophe Waitress.
Sure.
But not like this.
There's a couple. There's that Thin Lizzy song, I'm a Cuckoo.
Oh, yes.
I'd rather be in Tokyo. I'd rather listen to Thin Lizzy, yo. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite little lyrics of all time.
Not wrong. It's not incorrect, the lyric.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in Tokyo. I'd rather listen to Thin Lizzy, yo, and watch the Sunday Gang in Harajuku. There's something wrong with me. I'm a cuckoo.
But so anyway, this band is so interesting to me because I have such a I have such a hit or miss relationship with the rest of their catalog. Mm-hmm. But this album is the embodiment of what I was hoping this show would be, where I can give you an album that I say, I think this is perfect in its own way. Here is this perfect thing. What do you think? And I can't think, like, all the albums we've covered that I've brought to the table this season, I've tried to make that. Like, I think this is perfect for what it is in the time and the space and the people that it is and are. This one is that to me. And every track, I don't have a weak one on here, really. Not like, I don't have one I hate on here. There's some I think are weaker than others, but
it makes sense to me, especially when you start walking through the track list. I'm unclear on a lot of points. I did some reading, I did some digging.
Yeah.
But yeah, up until maybe a couple of tracks on what would be the B-side of the record, I was like, wow, this is just another good song. This is another great set of lyrics.
Yes.
So many, I don't want to say complicated, well-crafted rhymes and images. Mm-hmm. These are great songs.
Now, what had your relationship been to Belle and Sebastian before this? Were you aware of their releases when they came out? Were there songs that you liked over the years, or was it just like, oh, I'm aware of them, but I'm not really looking to dive in?
So because we talked about Ben Folds, everyone knows, unless this is your first time here, then go back to the beginning and start from the beginning. I'm a Folds fan. I like Ben Folds, and I'm a big AllMusic fan. And so when you're on AllMusic, this is before Spotify. This is when you had to go to Amazon, or you had to go to Barnes & Noble or Borders, and can you please special order a CD for me? And if you're finding music that you want to hear, it's hard to find. This is one of the related bands. Oh. And there was a friend of mine in college that loved this group.
Yeah.
All the records, gave me all the records.
Sure.
There's an EP called Books
or
Yes.
book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great.
From the late
There's-
90s, I
Yeah,
think,
the 4 tracks on there that are really good. I really loved a lot of Dear Catastrophe Waitress.
There was a kid in my art class senior year of high school that was in love with Boy with the Arab Strap.
Yeah, right, yes.
There's always one, I feel like.
There's always one guy or girl
Yeah.
furiously drawing into a notebook somewhere
Yeah.
that loves this music. I think I've seen them. I can't remember. This is one of the... I've seen a lot of stuff. There's a whole... This is from a period in my life where I was consuming so much music.
Yeah.
I don't want to say where I got a lot of it. I didn't always... I downloaded it illegally is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we all did.
And it wasn't like I would get an album. I'd be like, oh yeah, that band. Discography, box sets, download, 3 gig of a terabyte of music. All right. And then I would listen to all of it.
Yeah.
I'd sit there, you're on a run, and just meticulously keep track of the songs with a star rating system and iTunes.
Yeah, one of your notorious 6-hour-long runs listening to the entire discography of the Kooks.
Yeah! Woo! Is that guy on cocaine? Nope, he just loves music.
He should run a podcast someday.
He should be a podcast man.
What's a podcast? I'm from the future. And it was that man, Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
If you'd like to make no money and spend a lot of time entertaining people, I have a thing for you. Yeah. Whew. So, like I said, I was listening to a lot of records, and I would just spin through things and through whole catalogs. And so I've heard all these songs. I've heard all these songs before. I didn't realize that I had.
Okay.
Because I guess it all sticks in my brain.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, okay, so to this point, maybe because I did that, the seeds were planted 10 years ago, or wherever, when it was 2006, 2005?
6.
Almost 15 years ago.
Yeah. Gross.
10, 15 years ago to today, it blossomed in my brain where I reconnected with something that I remember hearing. And it was just, it was like a long lost old friend or something.
Oh, that's
the
great.
sensation of listening to this record, for me at least.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
really,
happy to hear that.
Really, really good. The other connection I have, because I am answering your question in a very long-winded sort of way.
I think that's literally why we're doing
Paul keeps looking at his watch and stamping his foot, and he's got a noose he's holding.
And he keeps doing the finger across the
Finger
throat.
across the throat.
Yeah, it's
I don't understand what he's trying to communicate. So I have a buddy, his name is Ross Federman, who's in the band Tally Hall. And they recorded the last album they made with a guy named Tony Hoffer.
uh-huh. Yeah, oh yeah. Who?
Did this record.
Right.
So
Most of it anyway.
most of the record, right. I remember being in the Sound Factory in LA in 2009, visiting Ross, who was making,
Whoa.
not this album, the Tally Hall album, and a lot of the gear that they would have used on this record
Holy shit.
was everywhere. And I remember Tony, who did not want me there. Tony, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry that I came to that day. I was only there for like an hour or less.
Yeah.
Didn't want me there, and I was just looking at stuff, and I caught the vibe, and I got out of there. But that's, to answer your question, my connection to this record.
That's an awesome connection.
I've
I love
seen
that.
some of the equipment.
Amazing. I had to miss them. Unfortunately, I had one opportunity to see them so far, and that was last year. They played at Arroyo Seco, the festival in Pasadena. They were on one of the stages, and I was trying to stake out my spot for Jack White later, so I had to miss Belle and Sebastian, unfortunately. I caught Chrissy Hine instead,
Okay.
because the Pretenders were on, and Gary Clark Jr., which was not a bad trade-off. Like,
Yeah.
I like both of those artists. Anyway, so I would like to see them. I've never actually seen them, but let's get a little bit into how this album came to be. What do you say, Ryan?
This is me doing a bad drum roll for you.
It's yeah, it's okay. Audio.
Getting in their
I
album.
wouldn't say good, but it's.
We're still working a lot of the kinks out
I
here.
know. Oh,
Maybe one day I'll have a drum for that.
all right. So Belle and Sebastian formed in Scotland in 1994 by these two guys, Stuart Murdoch and Stuart David. So the dueling Stuarts. They met at a place called Stowe College's beatbox program for unemployed musicians.
Come on,
Which is-
seriously?
yeah, it's really good.
So Scottish.
Yeah. So the duo's music professor was Alan Rankin, who had been a member of the Associates, not to be confused with the Association.
Definitely not.
But he encouraged them both, and the Stewarts released a few records under the name Belle and Sebastian. while they were still in this sort of college-y period. The name Belle and Sebastian comes from, and this is, I never knew this, the name comes from a short story that Murdoch wrote inspired by the television adaptation of a French novel called Belle et Sebastian about a 6-year-old boy and his dog.
Wow.
It's weird, I didn't know that. They were so successful locally with these little releases that came out in the Stowe College program that they recorded a full-length album called Tiger Milk. And they recorded that in 3 days, if you'll remember. Quick. Yeah, if you'll remember the exact same amount of time that Margot Price recorded Midwest Farmer's Daughter, 3 days. So sometimes, I guess, these artists, they get in the studio and there's a burst of creativity. The artist we're going to talk about next episode, it sounds like was completely stuck and did nothing for the first 3 days of recording.
Right. The exact opposite.
Yeah, but anyway, Tiger Milk, I've listened to. It's okay. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
It's pretty slow. Pretty quiet.
Well, he was sick or something, right? He had some kind of illness. This is not fact-checked or researched at all. This is what I remember because I have a friend who's a big fan. He was bedridden, hospital-ridden, something along those lines. And when he came out of it, the sort of joy of still being alive led him into this.
When you had CFS, was it a time that you could listen to, absorb, and really care about music?
Yes, I think I became much fussier about the music I listened to. It had to be able to, like you say, absorb me and take me to another place, because at that point in your life when you're down and out, what you want is escapism. And so for a period of time, there was a core of groups and music that I listened to that took me somewhere else, and then I got very much into. But then there reached a point where I wanted more, and I wanted more escapism, and I wanted more fantasy, and that's when I started to invent it for myself.
Well, it must be hard to start something new and difficult, like writing songs when you're sick.
It was, but it felt like the one major thing that I had. When I started to do it, I realized that this could be a way out.
Priest in the book had a photographic memory for all he had heard. He took all of my sins and he wrote a pocket novel called The State That I'm in. And so I gave myself to God. There was a pregnant pause before he said
I should say, I'm a big fan of this album, and I like the group, but I did not know any backstory virtually before actually doing the research for this episode. So I'm more familiar just with their music because it's been with me for so long, but it's one of those bands, I don't know if you have any bands like this, where you never go into the backstory. You just have the music sitting on your iTunes or whatever, or in your case, Spotify. And I just don't know anything about it.
Pepsi. In your case. RC Cola.
No, but I just knew nothing about them. Do you have any artists like that you just...
That you like the music, but you're not
just
invested into the story whatsoever? Yeah, I mean, Thin Lizzy would be actually one of them. I'm not kidding. I love the Boys Are Back in Town, those first couple albums. Don't care about the story of the band.
Just the music.
And then there are bands like the Beatles or any number of the artists we've talked about where you're like, what is their story? What's their deal? And then the story is almost as good as the music, sometimes better than the music.
I usually enjoy that side of it.
It's really fun.
But there is something nice about just letting the music speak for itself.
For sure. Well, that's what he wants, because all the album covers, he's not on any of them.
Yeah, they're all models.
Yeah.
Or actors or whatever.
So that's it's been set up that way. So the marketing plan was successful.
Yes. Anyway, Tiger Milk, not my favorite, but it does establish their sound. And their sound, for people not familiar with their early work, or even this work, is kind of like, what would you say? It's a little Smithsy.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little tail end of new wave mixed with touchy-feely 90s.
Touchy-feely 90s, I like that.
It's all sort of in there. But on the undercurrent, the skeleton of it is really solid songwriting and great vocal. Like, I really love, especially Stuart Murdoch's vocals. I think he's a very, very talented singer, and he beams. His voice just beams when he sings. So Tiger Milk was a hit, and Murdoch and David recruited more band members, including Stevie Jackson on guitar and vocals, Isabel Campbell on cello and vocals, Chris Geddes on keys, and Richard Colburn on drums. They were signed to a label called Jeepster Records, which I thought maybe had something to do with Mark Bolan.
Yeah, me too.
But apparently it's not. Jeepster is just a Scottish label. Their other big find was Snow Patrol.
Wow.
So Belle and Sebastian
money.
Snow Patrol, yeah. So that was in August of 1996, and they stayed at Jeepster for a good long while before switching over to Rough Trade in the UK and Matador in the US. And that explains why I have a 45 or 2 by them, and they're on Matador, and I was wondering about that, and I guess they were with them for a good long while.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so their third record, The Boy with the Arab Strap, was the big breakthrough for them, and it charted at number 12 in the UK in 1998. This gained them the attention of the worldwide mainstream music press, and in 2001, founding member Stuart David left the group and was replaced by Bobby Kildea, spelled Kildea. So there's the first iteration where it's the two Stewarts, and then there's the iteration after they become famous, which is kind of Murdoch running the show. So this record we're about to talk about, The Life Pursuit, was their 7th studio album, and it was recorded, as you mentioned, at the Sound Factory in Los Angeles in May of 2005, mastered at Metropolis in London. Producer was Tony Hoffer, as you mentioned. He produced, I think, all but 2 of the tracks. And Tony's got over 100, I was looking into this, Tony's got over 150 production credits under his belt.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he produced all the Beck shit I love.
Yeah.
I think he produced Garrow, which is like, whoa.
Not a bad record.
No, he produced Marianne Faithfull, Phoenix, The Kooks, The Fratellis, Nora Jones, Foster the People. He kind of ran the indie rock gauntlet.
Yeah, he's one of the kings.
Yeah, top of his game. So this album was released on February 6th, 2006 on Rough Trade Records, and the next day in the U.S. on Matador. The cover art features, as we mentioned, 3 models posing in high contrast. The models are Alex Klobauk, Natasha Normley, and Maria Perverta. It was originally intended to be a double album, but was trimmed down. Yeah. Red Rose Speedway
Are those
style.
out? Are they anywhere?
I don't know. I assume B-sides.
We have a mystery on our hands.
We do. And the reception was warm. At the time, this was the band's highest charting record, topping out at number 8 in the UK and number 65 in the US Billboard Top 200. It sold 20,485 copies in its first week and was certified silver in the UK. And it also charted around the world. Number 16 in Norway, 20 in Sweden, 41 in Belgium, 47 in Canada, and the list goes on. And those were some of the higher charting areas.
Right.
To give you an idea of their popularity, the Shins opened for them on the tour for this record, who were popular in their own right, but also coming off of opening for the White Stripes in 2005.
Wow.
So Belle and Sebastian's in that, even though they started in the 90s, you know, they are riding that indie wave. And we've talked a lot about this indie wave because I feel like I've brought a lot of these indie wave records to the table this season, whether it be Metric or Fiery Furnaces or what have you. But Belle and Sebastian is a little more like old guard indie, like Beck. Like Beck, for example. Like they started in the very mid-90s and were gaining prominence by the mid-2000s. Pitchfork named this album number 86 in its top albums of the 2000s decade retrospective. So it, you know, got out there. People were talking about it. Was it the smash hit song of the summer? Was it Old Town Road? No. It was,
thank God,
for the indie crowd, for the rock and roll crowd, important, I would say. Nice to have that sound represented in the midst of the musical landscape at that time. And yeah, one of my favorites. That's the background there. So what do you say, Ryan? We step on over to a certain corner that's chock full of bullets.
Let me put my vest on.
Good morning. I'm going to be your instructor. Okay, I know you're anxious to jump right in.
Welcome to Paul's Bullet Corner, which is what we've settled on. It's just what
I'm just kidding. I wasn't shot.
Settled on calling this. I got some bullet points for you, Ryan.
Are they hot?
They're some hot, steamy bullet points.
Hot bullets?
Okay. I've got a few for this one. All right, so my first bullet point.
You're going to give me the bullet points now?
Shall I?
Yeah. No, I was just making sure because I want to make sure my mind is clear.
Sweet, wipe it clean.
All right, clean slate. Go
Okay.
ahead.
A playful syringe of Sunshine Morrissey.
My God, a playful syringe. I see so many playful syringes on my morning runs these days, strewn about. Woo, okay, I'm
right.
sweating now.
A happy album by a sad band that wants to administer falsetto face paint at the county fair.
Oh, that's nice. It's calming and
Kinda sweet.
soothing.
I am so in touch with my feelings. This is my third bullet point.
I think one of the janitors here just almost fell over their toolkit or whatever. A toolkit? What?
Yeah.
That shocked me. I don't need another cup of coffee now.
1965 Beatles for the 2006 Indie Masses and Your High School Assembly.
Yeah, that one's exactly correct.
Mm-hmm. And the last one here, 12 strings, 11 Valentines, 10 daydreams, 9 love-drunk follies, 8 members probably, 7 belting vocals, 6 crumbling happy memories, and 5 golden rings.
That was... Ooh, I am actually sweating. I'm laughing so hard. I need to work out more.
And that's been Paul's Bullet Corner.
Excellent work. Again.
So before we get into this album, I just want to say one thing at the top here.
All right.
I think there's a concept at play. And I uncovered this a little drunk the other night.
Oh, please tell me more.
I think this whole album is the story of kids in Catholic school about to graduate.
Yeah. It could be.
I think so. There's a lot of religious stuff happening in here. There's a lot of...
Well, he's religious, right? He's a
he?
Christian.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But you used to live above a church, and you were the church's caretaker. You did this for how many years?
Maybe about 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
This was precisely at the time that the group came together. I guess I'd been, living from sort of room to room around Glasgow and just, getting on with my sort of gloomy existence up to a point. And then I attended a church, and the minister knew that I didn't really have a permanent place to stay, and he offered that I should stay in the church building, the church hall, and look after the premise.
Doesn't drink, church all the time, a lot of hymns.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just him singing from the heart about his God or whatever. But when you start looking at the lyrics, there's a lot of school imagery and there's a lot of religious imagery.
Right.
And it would explain a great many things about some of these songs. But keep that in mind as that's my hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
But we open with track 1, Act of the Apostle.
Morning prayer to the girl on the west. She was late for class and she knew it. The broadcaster had a voice that was soothing. She couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Her badge of sun fell onto her desk.
Great song.
Yeah. We got a little samba tinge to the opening. It's kind of nice. The song establishes a groove that the album really doesn't leave much.
Yeah.
There's just a whole lot of perfect pop going on here. And the descending riff that dances throughout most of these songs reminds me of like Denny Lane, right? He does those
Sure. Yeah,
descending
yeah.
riffs. I really do think that they're super effective and borderline Beatle-y and awesome throughout.
So the Acts of Apostles,
Yes. It's the 5th book of the New
the
Testament.
New Testament,
Yeah.
Luke wrote it. The original Luke, not Skywalker.
My least favorite apostle.
Yeah, 3 or 4. He's the Ringo of the apostles. So it's the story of the early Christian church.
Okay. Yeah. And Jesus' ascension into heaven, I want to say.
Something along those lines.
Somewhere in there.
And so that's what? That's in verse 1 or 2. And then he's talking about how she's playing Morning Has Broken. And that's an extremely popular hymn that Cat Stevens,
Oh. Yusuf Islam.
Yusuf,
Islam. I think he still goes by Cat Stevens.
Isn't he Cat Stevens again?
He is Cat Stevens again. Yes.
Is Harry Belafonte still alive?
Don't know.
I still don't
want to
know.
Don't want to know.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but the point that you made earlier, those things support that.
I think so.
The imagery of this.
Yeah. They could. Some of it is just because the subject matter of the band does revolve so much around like teenage love and sensitivity and romantic leanings. It's very Rococo in that way.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. But
you're getting really good at this.
and I think it's in his vocal too. But Stuart Murdoch's vocals are just so perfect. They're quiet, but they're also
singer.
Powerful.
Very, very powerful. Maybe they make you lean in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're leaning in, your brain is like, oh, this is very important.
Yes. The lyric is also very strong too throughout, but there's little turns of phrase and things that I really appreciate that he executes so masterfully, not only in the phrasing, but in the structure of it all. The chorus here, oh, if I could make sense of it all, like there is a hymnal kind of quality to that rise there. Maybe that's why I'm feeling that it's Beatley, because, one of the things McCartney does in his songwriting without thinking, or singing without even thinking about it, is he's pulling from that churchy hymnal stuff that he grew up singing as a kid.
Yeah, true.
And he uses it to his own ends, and that's fine. But I'm getting a similar sense out of Murdoch here.
I agree with what you're saying. We are at school.
We are. I think we are.
I'm following your thread.
Okay.
Let's unravel it.
Well, that thread takes us to track 2, Another Sunny Day.
What a good song.
My first note is another triumph of indie pop.
I wrote amazing slice of pop.
Yeah, and it is.
It really is.
This is the kind of pop I enjoy. And a lot of people get snobby about pop. I like pop music. That's how a lot of my favorite rock music started. Mm-hmm. This is my kind of pop music, though. This bright little... It borders on corny, but it never really crosses the line. There's like counterpoint harmony they're doing here, and there's a little Motown repeat the lyric back kind of thing, the echo, the call and response, I think is what it's called, that's going on here, which is awesome. And then we get more of those descending licks, which gives the album a feeling of an emotional roller coaster, because even though the thing is, mostly positive, it does slide down an awful lot, but only to lift you back up again. So it seeks to bring you down and up, but end up.
I agree.
I picked a couple verses from this album just throughout the track by track, and I don't do that for every record that we talk about, but in this case, there's so many lyrics that I thought were beautiful poetry that I felt compelled to. So I pulled this stanza out from this song. Another day in June, we'll pick 11 for football. And that's when they echo back, pick 11 for football. We're playing for our lives, and the referee gives us fuck all. When I was listening without the lyrics in front of me, I thought he was saying referee gets his fuck on, but he's not. He's saying the referee...
Wishful thinking.
He's saying the referee doesn't care. I saw you in the corner of my eye on the sidelines. Your dark mascara bids me to historical deeds.
Great line.
It's awesome.
Great line.
And again, I think they're playing high school sports.
Paint your face, I will take some risks.
Yeah.
That's the lyric I would have written.
One other thing I really appreciate about this album as a whole, but especially love on this track, is the drumming and the bass. The rhythm section is so high in the mix. Yeah. Thumping, relentless. But then you get that jangly Beatles 65 style guitar, and it's everything I want from a rock and roll song.
There it
everything.
Is. Yeah. It's great music.
I want the bass and the drums high up in the mix, and I want some jangly goddamn guitar.
If it's not jangling... Look, I'm Paul's manager. I'd like to... he says in his contract it needs to be jangling, and these are barely tinkling. So I'm going to need you to go the fuck back in the studio and fix this for him. Do you understand?
Jangle.
Because Paul will make my life a living hell. I'm going to fix this. Do you understand?
Jangle as if you are unchained. We have then track 3.
Mr. Bojangle Unchained.
Thank you. White Collar Boy, or The White Collar Boy.
This is amazing.
Another great one.
Yeah, but this is, so I'm going to say this 10 times in a row where I'm going to say, oh, wow, it's amazing. I'm going to be making fun of myself, but it's the truth. The synth bass, whatever it is,
yeah.
whether a Moog or a Yamaha or a who cares?
Yeah. It sounds like a high school assembly song, like a cheerleading.
Great.
Yeah.
And a high school assembly song about white collar crime.
You're a white collar boy and you gave in to the law. Give in to the pressure, the cops gonna get you. You were a thieving dog at work until they caught your little paw. Your wage won't stretch to picking up checks. A custodial sentence you narrowly avoided. Community service, you had to go.
You were a thieving dog at work until they caught your little paw. And the call and response that started on the last song fully forms here.
Mm-hmm.
I every time this was coming on when I was listening, if I wasn't in the car, because this would have killed everyone, I just grabbed an acoustic guitar. And
Really?
just I love that feel, that whole.
Oh, I love it too. Yeah, the call and response is at its peak here. I pulled out this stanza from this one. You were chained to a girl that would kill you with a look. It's a nice way to die. She's so easy on the eye.
Yeah.
She said, let's get away, but you played it by the book. You're a warden's pet. She's a screaming suffragette. We ain't in prison. We'll just finish up and go home. She said, no, not for me. I've got plans for later on. So she belted the sarge and she jumped on a barge and you fell and you fell and you fell and you fell.
And again, right? You fell and you fell and you fell and you fell. Yeah, into the chorus, white collar.
Yeah. It's
Got
I
dirt
just
in your
love
pants.
this song so much.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very good. And then the.
Said
You ain't ugly, you can kiss me if you like.
Go ahead, don't know what you're missing. You texted me that line the other day. I was like, I know, it's my favorite. I love it so much.
Out of context, stop texting me that type of stuff, Ryan. Thank you.
This was the last single to be released from the album on June 26, 2006, and it hit the top 50 in the UK. It was the band's first single not to hit the top 40 since Lazy Line Painter Jane nearly a decade earlier, charting at number 45. But I think that might just be because it was the third single on the album. And by the time you get to single 3, people are starting to check out of the record.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. You're
But-
just trying to get the last cash grab, really.
The model on the cover of this single is named Catherine Ireton, who went on to have a music career of her own in a band that Stuart Murdoch put together as sort of a musical project called God Help the Girl.
Great.
And I think this one was written by most, if not all, of the band. It was written by Richard Colburn, Mick Cook, Chris Geddes, Steve Jackson, Sarah Martin, Stuart Murdoch, and Bobby Kildea. There's some sentiment in here that I think echoes the song Common People by Pulp.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a juxtaposition of the working class and the privileged class, and talking about how one drives the other insane or whatever.
Great comparison.
Yeah.
Common People, what a single.
She came from Greece. She had a thirst for
I like the
knowledge.
Shatner version a lot.
Maybe better than the Pulp
Maybe,
version.
yeah.
So that brings us to track 4. One of my, I would say, in my top 10 favorite songs of all time.
Whoa.
Just songs. The Blues Are Still Blue.
I left my lady in the laundrette. You can put some money on it. You can place a little bet up when I see my lady. The black will be white and the white will be black, but the blues are still blue.
My favorite on the album, my favorite by the band, top 10 of all time. This one feels like it erupted from my own DNA.
Whoa.
I think this is a perfect song.
All of these songs get better than the last one, so we're right lockstep on that. It's a really very good set of lyrics. And it's danceable, too.
Oh, yeah. It's just what I want from a rock and roll song. Like this, it's just what I want. This is what I want from rock and roll. This is it. Like
Girls
this song.
writing theses and washing machines. And
There's a recording floating around out there of me doing this song with the smattering of musicians I play with sometimes, just because I felt like I needed to get it out. Like I needed to make this song myself because I had to. I felt a calling to do it. I just love this song so I can't even describe it. I don't even know if I know why. It's just you get that booming rhythm section, but you get the harmony and you get the clever lyrics and the phrasing and you get little flourishes and there's payoff to the choruses. It's every single thing I want and a guitar solo.
yeah.
And like Margot Price, they put a sad song in a major key and turned it into a banger before you know that you've been listening to something that's really sad. Mm-hmm. But when you do that, when you create that juxtaposition, it makes it relatable. You know, it's a commiserate. You're commiserating with these people. I've been creeping around this town because old creeping's just my way.
Yeah. With a little wink, I'll be there. I'll be excited for a week, but then the excitement starts to fade. Very relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was the second single from the album after its release in April of 2006. This one did reach the top 40 in the UK, their last top 40 hit to date. Tony Dugan mixed this track and one other on the record. Tony produced the band's Fold Your Hands, Child, You Walk Like a Peasant album and a handful of other releases from them. He also produced for Mountain Goats, whom I enjoy.
I love the Mountain Goats.
Yeah, I like them. And the single was backed with a rendition of Whiskey in the Jar, which is a folk song from, I believe, from Scotland. And I love it because I'm not sure if you've ever heard this. My first introduction to that song is Metallica doing it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Thin Lizzy.
No, it's Metallica.
Because I think there is a Thin Lizzy version of it, too.
Many, many bands have covered this song because, you know, a lot of people cover folk songs, but you just haven't lived until you've heard Hetfield sing Whiskey in a Jarro when he has a little jarro.
And I haven't lived.
I could talk about The Blues Are Still Blue all day, but...
What else do you want to say?
You know what? I don't want to talk about it all day. I want to talk about the next track.
All right.
Which I like less, but it's called Dress Up in You.
Yeah, a little less, sure.
Brings things down a little bit, but suddenly you remember you're listening to a Belle and Sebastian album.
Pluck your eyebrows for the crowd.
Yeah.
Get on the airplane, you give me stomach pain.
Yes.
It's good.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the horn section on this track is excellent. That's Alistair Collins on bassoon, Jennifer Stevenson on clarinet, and Tom Smith on trombone. I pulled another stanza out of this one. I always loved you. You always had a lot of style. I hate to see you on the pile of nearly made it's. You've got the essence, dear. If I could have a second skin, I'd probably dress up in you.
Yikes.
It's a wonderful little poem.
It's very nice, yeah.
And again, we get that sad subject matter, that soft vocal treatment, but you get the major key and the chorus that tells you to fuck them in reference to people who are causing you pain or grief.
Right. It's a great song after a really, really very good one. And then before another very, very good song.
Yeah, you need it almost as a bridge. You can't go from Blues Is Still Blue right into Sukie. But that does bring us into Sukie in the Graveyard, track number 6. Again, this is the song that got me into Belle and Sebastian. It's just another perfect rock song to me.
Sukie was a kid, she liked to hang out in the graveyard. She did brass rubbing, she learned she never had to press hard. When she was finished hanging out, she was all alone. She decided that she better check in at home. There was an offer around between her mom and dad. They said she hadn't done this, she hadn't done that. If she wanted to remain inside the family home, she'd have to toe the line, she'd have to give it a go.
This is what I wrote. What the fuck is going on? This is non-stop hit songs in a row.
Yeah.
And the second note is, man, Sukie is a real bitch. Those are my notes that I took while listening.
So I was graduating art school the year I heard this song for the first time, and I found it highly relatable, actually. I knew a lot of Sukies, I pulled this stands out to give you a hint of the plot of this song. Sukie was a kid. She liked to hang out at the art school. She didn't enroll, but she wiped the floor with all the arseholes. She took a bijou flat with a fraternity
Great line.
cat.
Yeah.
She hid inside the attic of the sculpture building. She had a slut slave, and his name was Dave. She said, "Be my photo, bitch, and I'll make you rich." He didn't believe her,
Nope.
but the boy revered her. He got her meals, and he got her a bed. He watched behind the screen as she started to undress. He never got far, just looking and playing guitar. Knew a lot of Sukies.
You knew a lot of people like this
A lot of
at art school.
Yeah, a lot of people who were there to take advantage of others in that way. If you're gonna take advantage of people, it may as well be art school kids.
Right.
The self-esteem in art school is usually pretty low, despite the ego.
Yeah.
Even if you're not thinking about the lyric, which I wasn't for a good long while, there is a guttural feeling I get from this song. It's high energy, but there is a little hint of dread on the end there. And I think that comes from, again, that bass and the drum being way up in the mix and accentuated with that electric organ that adds little beams of sunshine, but the sunshine kind of has to dance around the vocal, which is relentless. It
Oh, yeah. A lot of words.
Yeah. And I like that about them. I love their lyrics. If their lyrics were shit and they were just going rapid fire, I wouldn't appreciate it as much, but in this case, love it.
Yeah, it's probably why we're listening to this record and talking about it. If the lyrics weren't any good, I don't know if I would be that interested. There's so many bands that steal my favorite 1960s and 70s tropes and repackage the material. This is beyond that. Like Elvis Costello, who, what a lyricist. So shocked that people don't love him as much as I do. But if Elvis didn't have good lyrics, why are you listening?
Yeah.
You could just listen to the Ramones or something else, like something very simple was what I mean to say.
That's a good point, though. There is an Elvis Costello quality to their songs sometimes, because Elvis is another one that his vocal is pretty relentless.
Oh, yeah.
It's hammering.
He's mad.
Yeah.
He's angry.
He's mad about something.
And Stewart's mad, too.
Yeah.
Whatever this illness was he had, I know he had it for a long time.
Really?
He's pissed.
Yeah.
Why else are people songwriting? Why are you up on stage night after night and after night screaming your head off?
Yeah.
Trying to get over something. Process something.
Yeah.
Why are we sitting in here talking about this stuff? That doesn't matter. We don't need to psychoanalyze us. We're perfectly fine. Stuart Murdoch.
He's a real nut.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this guy.
Yeah.
You know, I, all kidding aside, excellent lyricist. This is definitely a highlight, if not, I don't know if it's the best song on the record, but it's way up there.
I'm happy to hear you say that's my second favorite on the record. I do really, really love it. The guitar solos remind me a lot of early George Harrison solos. They're very thoughtful
that's
in
George.
their execution, and they intersect at similar places in each song and never quite overstay their welcome. They're in there for a little bit, then they get out, and they're always to the song, and they're always very thought out, arranged. You don't get a lot of the sense that they're on the fly.
Right.
You get the sense somebody's sitting there thinking about how to do it. And that brings us to track 7, We Are the Sleepyheads.
Yes.
Some bongos on the sly happening in the beginning there. I only really noticed when listening in headphones last night, actually.
It sounds like a Help-era Beatles song.
Yes.
With 1950s style female background vocals.
Yes. The 60s sound, I wrote the 60s sound is back in full force again here.
Yeah, it's just getting better and better, the record, as it goes along.
Yeah. There's a little angelic chorus that flourishes in places and flies up and up and up and up, and it guides you from verse to verse, and they really use harmony to build a song. That's one thing I noticed in really dissecting why I like these tracks. They keep building. It's like a step. They keep stepping higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and then they crash you down, and then they do it again. Which is a great way to go about it, I think. I pulled another stanza, this time from this song. It says, "Someone told the truth when it really mattered most. The beauty of the moment is the beauty sadly lost, sadly lost. So I went around your house over tea and gin. We talked about the things we read in Luke and John, the things he said. And now it's morning, and we are the sleepyheads." back to the Bible stuff. I think this is two.
Those are apostles, right?
Yes. I think these are two kids. I think that there's two kids in Catholic school who are the sleepyheads.
Sounds like it.
I think they're the sleepyheads, Ryan. I think I found the sleepyheads.
I think you found them. And I also, there's the line, we've been in this town so long we may as well be dead.
Yeah.
Really love that.
Yeah.
Makes you stop and think.
I know a couple people who are walking dead in my hometown.
Nothing but the dead and dying in my little town. That's Simon and Garfunkel. On a lighter note.
Yeah. The funk.
The funk.
You think anybody ever called him the funk? You think Nicholson called him the funk?
Definitely did. Definitely. Without confirming that. Hey there, it's the funk.
Hey, it's the funk.
I like your songs that you sing with Paul. Why don't you get Paul back?
Here's a little tidbit of carnal knowledge for you.
Here's what you need to know, funk. You need to get a good agent. You need to find yourself a nice bungalow.
This has been bad Jack Nicholson impressions.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about track 8, huh?
Song for Sunshine. Sunshine.
We all see. Ooh. The Flaming Lips song they never knew they wrote.
Right.
This thing has flaming lips all over it. This is around the time where, what was it, the War of... What the hell is that album? At War with Mystics. When that album came out, this album came out around within a couple of years of each other.
Yeah.
They sound like they belong in the same space. What are your thoughts on Flaming... back to Jiminy. What are your thoughts on the Flaming Lips?
Well, where's the bad Nicholson? Well, Jim, I can't even do it. Well, Jimmy. Well, Jack. What would he call Jiminy Glick? Well, fat fucker. It's the worst Jack Nicholson ever. I love the Flaming Lips.
Yeah?
I believe
that's a strong statement.
Their early records,
Ooh.
She Don't Use Jelly, and up to Yoshimi, and maybe the one right after it.
Yeah.
Great. And then the stuff where they're doing the fetus, the USB and the fetus, or whatever. I'm serious. I'm not even right. That's the thing they did. Right.
I lost track with them after
Yoshida. It was a gummy.
Yoshimi.
A gummy fetus. I'm not kidding.
Neat.
And you could. That's how you dig into this, and you get the record. And wait, what? That's taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
But do you realize that's a perfectly written song?
It is a perfect song.
I can listen to that at any time. And you hear that, I remember, it was high school probably.
Devastating.
Do you realize everyone you know one day will die? It's the truth.
It is the truth.
And nobody says it to you like that.
Yeah.
And there's Coin flying down in his big circular orb with a white tuxedo suit he hasn't washed since 1994, telling you, and you're like, are you a bum or are you a prophet?
There is, I agree with you completely, although I don't know their early records. I only know At War with Mystics and Yoshimi. Those are the only two.
Those two are great. That's where I tap out. I don't know what's happened since then. There may not even be records since then, but I'm not sure.
They did Plastic Ono stuff. There's an album where they cover all of Sgt. Pepper.
I'll take a pass. I'll take a hard pass on that.
It's not good. It's not good, Ryan.
I can hear it.
It's not good. I wanted to love it. I really did want to love it, but I couldn't. I didn't.
So leave the Beatles alone, everyone. Let the Beatles, who wrote and recorded their own songs very well. Some may say we're way off topic.
We
but
are.
It doesn't matter. We have time. Joe Cocker. Joe Cocker's version of
The cock.
The old cock. Come here. Bad Nicholson. So
I love Bad Nicholson. He should be a recurring character on
Bad
the
Nicholson.
show. Listen,
His version
cock.
of Bathroom Window and With a Little Help from My Friends, very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Do I like the original Beatles versions? Yes, also. I can't think of many covers where it's like, oh, wow, that guy covered a Beatles song. That was so much better than John Lennon singing it.
There's a few on occasion I love. The I Should Have Known Better cover by She and Him I really like a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's just because I don't hear a lot of covers of that song and I was just interested in hearing it. And Zoe treated it well. We're gonna one day we're just gonna dive and do a Beatle episode. I don't even think it should have any structure. I think we should just
None.
talk.
Beatles, 1 hour.
Yeah.
Go.
Interesting to two people is sitting in this room. I like Song for Sunshine a lot. I guess on any other record, this one might be a standout, but I love everything else so much that I don't really think I always give this track its due just because I like other songs on this album so much better.
It's my first dip. I wrote it. First dip
Really?
for me
Okay.
in the record. This is where the acceleration stopped. It hasn't stopped for good.
Yeah.
This felt like a Stevie Wonder track.
Yes.
Or like watching some kind of Grateful Dead cartoon.
I also had ELO on this because it sounds like an impression.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Hoffer production thing. I don't know the story, and
I don't know
and
either.
I actually don't care to. But yeah, it's they took something and they wanted to put it out.
Yeah.
They made the record. The end.
I would say it's good. I just don't. It's not a favorite. My favorite part about it though is the bongo and maraca synth resting in that descending groove on the outro.
Yeah.
I think the outro is really, really interesting, actually. If you took the outro and put that at the start and end of this album, you would have had a nice
Edit.
It would have wrapped the thing up in a bow a little bit, but that brings us to track 9.
And wow, I'm back.
Woo!
Funny Little Frog.
Funny Little Frog.
Like a lost Mecca song or a Wing song, but
Yes.
also not at all like that. The thing I said. The line, "You are my girl, and you don't even know it. I'm living out the life of a poet. I'm the jester in the ancient court, and you're the funny little frog in my throat." That's a full court shot, nothing but net.
Yeah.
Moment where you're like, and the whole crowd stands up and goes wild.
Let me read the rest of that, because I pulled out that line, but I also pulled out a few lines before it, which I also love. "Honey, loving you is the greatest thing. I get to be myself and I get to sing. I get to play at being irresponsible. I come home late at night and I love your soul. I never forget you in my prayers. I never have a bad thing to report. You're my picture on the wall. You're my vision in the hall. You're the one I'm talking to. When I get in from my work, you are my girl and you don't even know it." And that's when the rest
And
of that
then I
line is.
said I ruined the whole thing.
I think this is somebody pining for someone else and has never talked to her.
Dark. Pretty dark.
I think this
Could
is
be
someone
right, sure.
living out an imaginary relationship in their mind. And it reminds me of and I forget what the song is called. I want to say it's the Jackson Park Express from Weird Al.
Yeah.
Remember that song? It's at the end of one of his recent albums, and it's really long, and it's all about how he's watching this girl, and like the flare of her nostril tells him that she wants to be with him forever and can't, and then he fills in this elaborate backstory.
Yeah.
I got-
Classic Weird Al.
Yeah, I got that vibe from this one too. This is, like you, a highlight for me on the record, and the song was a single, the first single off the album. It hit the top 20 in the UK singles charts in January of 2006 in advance of the record. And it was the highest charting single to date for the band up to that point, reaching number 13. And it went to number 3 in the band's native Scotland. So this one did resonate with people. Although I think it's funny that they pulled this one and not Blues Are Still Blue, but maybe that's just because I like the Blues Are Still Blue more. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't care to think of you in a physical way, and I don't know how you smell. You are the cover of my magazine. You're my fashion tip, a living museum. I'd pay to visit you on rainy Sundays. I see that people think it may be about the Virgin Mary.
Oh, you getting fashion tips from the Virgin Mary, are you?
Well, not me. Murdoch.
I read you, Murdoch.
But yeah, it is. Now that we dig into it, because I somehow missed this, Chris Pine theory is right. You're Christopher Pining.
I'm Christopher Pining.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I don't know. That's just my impression of it, listening to the lyrics, but the religious stuff makes a lot more sense. Although, if you're thinking of this as I was in terms of kids in a Catholic school about to get graduated, and you're talking different types of personalities, this is one.
Yeah,
Definitely. On
yeah.
the school bus or whatever. There's cute little hooks that this band gets that latch into your brain and never really leave. And sometimes it's funny turns of phrase, but this song is just one big representation of their earworm ability, I think. I do love it. It was a grower for me. It's never my go-to on this album, and then I forget it's there, and I'm like, whoa, this is great.
Yeah, it's very good. I like that one a lot.
All right. Now track 10, To Be Myself Completely. This is another fine song I don't mind. This reminded me of hearing a George Harrison song on a Lennon and McCartney dominated album.
Yeah, I said cut this one from the record. I could have cut this and I wouldn't have noticed.
I don't think it's bad. I just think next to the other material, the other material so much more advanced.
Yeah.
And you can hear the band trying to make this song into something. Mm-hmm. Like I hear the effort. I think this is a Stevie Jackson.
It's another vocal, right?
Yeah,
it's another vocalist. That's the biggest mistake this band could make.
Yeah.
And I know they did on previous albums.
Yeah, they bounce around to a few.
There's only one guy that should sing, and it's Stuart Murdoch. And I don't care if you're a fan listening to this, that you disagree with me, you are wrong in your opinion.
Again, much like those early George songs, I don't hate them. They're fine.
No, they're in the style of the band, but it's
exactly.
It's not as good as a Paul or John construction.
But it still sounds like a Beatles song.
It's dressed up like one.
I feel the exact same way about this one. This has the trappings of a Belle and Sebastian song, but there's something lacking in there. And maybe it is just the vocal. Maybe it's the vocal. I don't know. And then again, the vocal's not bad. Like, we're shitting on this vocal, but I think it's just because the other vocals are so
I want to be really clear about that. It's a fine vocal performance from a fine singer.
Yeah.
It's not Belle and Sebastian.
Yeah.
Would Cheers be the same without Ted Danson? No, the answer is no. There's no other answer, and the answer is no.
It's a good question.
And that's how I feel about... You did not think that you could get this kind of value for your podcasting dollar, connecting To Be Myself Completely to Cheers. And you're very welcome, everyone.
And yet, I like the fiddle. There's like a violin thing going on. That's a nice little touch.
Yes.
You know, that's all I have to say about this one.
Yeah,
really.
same.
Act of the Apostle Part 2. Now, this one...
Interesting.
Is when we're back to the concept-y nature of the record that does come up now and again. And we got a little churchy synth happening here. I wrote down, and again, this is just for us because we're weird McCartney freaks, but I wrote that this one has the feeling of Baby's Request at the end of Back to the Egg.
Oh, sure.
There's a little loungy kind of break happening there. I pulled out this stanza. I'm bored out of my mind, too sick to even care. I'll take a little walk. Nobody's going to know. I'm in senior year. It gives you a little free time. I'll just use it all at once. Took a fence and the lane, the bus, then the train. Bought an independent to make me look like I got brains. I made a story up in my head if anyone would ask. I'm going to a seminar. I'm a genius, a prodigy, a demon at maths and science. I'm up for a prize. You gotta grow up sometime. You gotta do it on your own. I don't think I could stand to be stuck. That's the way things were going. The Bible's my tool. There's no mention of school. My Damascus road's my transistor radio. I tune in at night when my mom and dad start to fight.
Can we talk about that line?
Yeah.
So in the Bible, Saul, who becomes the Apostle Paul, converts to Christianity while traveling to Damascus to persecute Christians, right? So idiomatically, a Damascus road is something that causes someone to have a major change in their belief. And that, for him, is his radio.
It's music.
So it's music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the kid who was brought up in the Catholic school. He's in his senior year, and he's now turned his mind onto music, and he's taken these trips into the city. And he's making up stories of what he'll tell people. But
I'm going to a seminar.
Yeah. I'm a genius, a prodigy.
Just don't worry about it. I'm a genius. I'm going to a seminar. Check out my newspaper.
It's the Independent.
Yeah.
Have you read it even?
Do you even know how to read?
Yeah, I do.
I'm going to walk away now. Good day, sir.
This is the one that cracked open the backstory I gave this album, or the
Fair enough.
plot. Because when you do hear these lyrics, that's, I think, the nail on the head, but there are other songs that echo it. And then I love we get back into after that loungy sort of divergence, we get back to Act of the Apostle from part 1, and we hear that song kind of again.
That's why my only choice is find the face behind the voice.
It makes the record feel intentional. It makes the choices feel important. Mm-hmm. I love this song, and I love it as an opening, and I wish it were the closer, but it's not.
It should be the closer. That's exactly what I was thinking. It should just be bookended and done.
This album ends 3 times, which is... I think you find that a lot with bands. They don't know where to end the thing.
Yeah.
This one, I think, has 3 endings.
I have a formula for you. It's 9 songs. If there are not 9 songs that are all 5 stars, that's when the album should stop. If you have more 5-star songs, you can go up to 14.
Wow.
I think people think, oh, the Beatles had 14 songs on each album, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't. 9 songs.
9.
Billy Joel's albums, most of them, 9 songs, and they're all pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
It's where everybody goes for, oh, it was so good except for that or this thing, or it goes on too long. McCartney's records now, Paul McCartney. Why are these albums 18 tracks long? I like 6 of the songs half the time.
Yeah. I have 2 feelings about that. My fan brain wants the additional content. My objective record buying, listening brain understands you are right. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are 2 different ways you could listen to these things to each of those ends. And I am coming at Belle and Sebastian not as really a fan of theirs so much as a fan of this album and kind of what they do. So I think I'm more inclined to say, oh, well, yeah, just cut it. Like, just end it.
Right.
Whereas if I was really, really into it, I might be like, well, we get a couple more tracks in there.
Make it a triple album. Where's the one side of the vinyl that's a synthesizer experiment?
Yeah. You're looking for some Apple Jam. I know what you're looking for.
That's what I was thinking about, yeah.
I put on Apple Jam a lot. I kind of love Apple Jam.
Not bad.
Anyway, that brings us to track 12, For the Price of a Cup of Tea. Hey, that's a good song.
Right, exactly.
You know?
For the price of a cup of tea, you'd get a line of Coke. For the price of a night with me, you'd be the village joke. Great lyricist, really fun.
There's some dark stuff in those lyrics.
The whole album, it's far darker than I thought.
Yeah, because they sound so happy-go-lucky. Like, this one sounds downright syrupy in places. Mm-hmm. But when you get into it, you realize, oh, they're talking about other things. This is another track where the woodwinds coming in kind of highlights things and offer an even brighter ray of sunshine sometimes than was previously communicated. I don't know. It's another one that's in line with Funny Little Frog and all those Sleepyheads, whatever. Like, it's a good, solid pop tune.
Very good.
And then we get to the ending, the actual ending, the canonical ending.
Right.
Mornington Crescent, which I always forget it's on here.
Huh.
I like it. It's fine, but it just doesn't really close the record like Cup of Tea would.
It should have just been a B-side.
Yeah.
Or left off.
It's fine. It doesn't really sound like anything else on the album, so I like that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. It does have the little Belle and Sebastian flourishes, but there's like a 70s acoustic guitar feel to it. Mm-hmm. I looked it up, and Mornington Crescent is both a game show on the BBC and also a tube station in London. So
Okay.
I think this might be meaning to evoke the journey on the tube station.
Yeah, probably.
And again, could be somebody coming from the sticks into the big city because it is in London after all, and maybe you have somebody growing up and heading there, whatever the case. Beautiful guitar solo on this, and the dueling piano is just wonderful harmony right at the end there. Again, even the songs that I'm lukewarm on, I still like this one.
Yeah, I like it. I feel we're more or less lockstep on this one.
Yeah. And that's a rarity.
Yeah.
Usually you're like, I love this one. I
love this. And you're like,
Yeah.
what?
So that's it. That's
We made it.
That's Belle and Sebastian, The Life Pursuit.
It was pursued and it was captured.
We ensnared it.
We did it. We did a good job.
Can you believe we are already at the penultimate episode of season 1?
I can't. I actually cannot. On another show I did, I just recorded the last episode. Went through, I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably know, take it away. We just recorded Egypt Station. I could not believe it. All of the work all the time, it's just gone.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that the show's out and this show will be is out if you're hearing it. Where is time going? It's just sliding by and running through us so fast. It's amazing.
And that's what I love about the show we've got here, is because I feel like between you and I, we have no shortage of albums that we like.
No, absolutely none. You look to the album pile and you're like, well, I will be long dead before I get through these. So that's good.
Well, we hope you all enjoyed Belle and Sebastian's The Life Pursuit. We'll have Spotify playlists available of all these records so that you can check them out. We want to hear your thoughts. Like, we don't say that enough on the show, but we want to hear from you. What do you think of these records? Send us an email. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, all those social channels. We really do want to hear, because it's the sharing of these albums that's the thing we enjoy.
Yeah, please write us. I know it's at the end of every episode, but it's nowhearthisofficial@gmail.com. I love it because it looks like now heart is official. So send us an email. We do want to have a conversation. Join us for a conversation on our Facebook and our Facebook group, and everything's right. Your opinion's right. We're just having fun. We want to start a conversation with you about these records.
Yeah. And be here next week for the finale of our album exchange this season. We hope you enjoy it. We got a good one coming up next episode. I can't wait to talk about it.
Ooh.
Should we tease them, Ryan?
Yes.
What do you think? You tease it. You tease it.
I have a couple of oblique strategies on how to do that. And those are...
Bam, 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 bam.
Do you have an opinion about the album we discussed today? Contact us at @NowHearThisPodcast on Instagram, @NowHearThisPod on Twitter, Facebook.com/NowHearThisPodcast, or email us at NowHearThisOfficial@gmail.com. See you next time.
That's me. All right, now we're both recording.
Pump it up if you can feel it. What's the second line?
Pump it up if you know you can feel it.
If you know you can feel
Pump it up.
Is it? Feel it.
Not Googling it.
If you can't steal it.
Pump it up if you know you can. Na, 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 na. What am I doing?
Yeah, it's the na 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 na.
Repopule. Repopule?